Jessica Marshall, the goddess from the Goddess Temple, San Marcos, Guatemala, here with us on the podcast. How's it going?
Great, thank you. Thanks for having me here.
Totally.
Magical. What are you discussing today? What's the main topics that have come through?
Jessica is actually the brainchild for this event.
I can't take full credit, but I did name it.
Yeah, impact.
Impact, yeah.
Impact. Ian, how does it go?
Impact, 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 impact.
That's nice.
That's a good jingle.
So that's the
Catchy.
Yeah, that's
Catchy.
the conversation we're having is impact.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's talk about impact.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about what that means. Yeah, cool. Well, for my part, when I heard you guys talking about your vision, wanting to create something that was going to give back to the community and resourcing from the people here, with the heart of sharing a podcast, like the first thing I thought of was, well, why don't we get some of the top issues in the community and shed light on them and shed light on the projects? Because I've lived here for almost 5 months now, and I still don't know how to help.
Sure.
And I want to. I've helped in my own ways. I brought Water for Life, right? The Goddess Temple is a project that helps, people to move through their own bodies and connect to the heart. But there's so many problems here at the lake. There's the water issue. There's the dogs. There's the housing. There's poverty. There's alcoholism. There's drug abuse. There's violence. There's abuse, child abuse. The list goes on and on. It's like all the darkness that exists here, like anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
But because Guatemala is, in the state that it is with the government, not being able to support the same way that, say, the United States or Canada supports, there's a big need for people who are coming from those places to bring their gifts and to bring the abundance and the prosperity and the success that we currently get to have the privilege of embodying to the lake. And it's not that we need to be their saviors, but we have the responsibility, because with privilege comes responsibility.
Yeah, absolutely.
To show up and to make a positive impact.
Impact.
Wait, what is it?
Impact.
Oh, impact, oh,
Nobody doesn't like it.
Impact,
Nobody doesn't like it.
Impact.
He's got the dog there now.
Yeah,
Impact,
cutie.
impact, oh, impact, oh, impact.
It's important to bring the fun and the light and the playfulness to even important conversations like
Absolutely.
this. E.T., phone home.
So, that's interesting, because one of the things that I've realized in my journey of just like living and growing is that when you operate from a place of pleasure, then everything is magnetized to you. This is the power of magnetism. So when we, like Ian, he brings the fun, he brings the laughter, the ridiculousness. He's the permission slip for us to just be our shiniest selves.
Totally.
And from that place of radiance, everything that we want can come to us. We can attract it. And we can impact other people to also step into that joy. So it's not to say that, hardship doesn't exist or that we aren't going to go through hard times, but how we choose to approach that and the attitude that we bring, and when we choose to live in alignment with our purpose and to give back and to step into our power, then we get to live from a place of pleasure more and more. And pleasure can be laughter. Pleasure can be the feeling of this like soft dress on my skin, or it can be dancing at Eagle's Nest with the most beautiful view you've ever seen in your life, or it can be the simple pleasure of like talking to somebody and feeling a connection, or living your truth, like helping somebody, taking water up, observing the trees. Like these moments, this experience is a state of being. And so I think part of what we're doing here today is, we're getting speakers. We just heard I heard Dakota speak about.
Oh, Dakota already went? That's
DAO.
amazing.
Yeah, he switched around.
Oh, cool.
It was very cool. He shed a lot of light on DAOs, which is decentralized autonomous organizations, which is kind of like on the far side of decentralization. Super interesting.
Well, same wavelength as Will.
Yeah, he and Will work together. DAO.
Oh yeah, because Will's Telegram was DAO, so you just said that, and that makes sense.
Yeah, so connecting there. And that's something that I've heard, they have a ministry, which means that their organization is decentralized, but it also, it's like a church, so that's how they've really worked their magic in the world. But they're talking specifically about Seeds, and Seeds is a decentralized autonomous organization, and I'm sure when Dakota comes on, he'll give you more insight into it. So
Awesome.
We'll talk about it. But it'll be, it's super cool, and it's just amazing to see all of the different ways that we can use our strengths, operating in our space of pleasure, like what actually do you like to do? Don't do something you don't want to do, but if you want to be, like if you love this is your gift.
Yeah.
So do this. Yeah, right? And you're amazing. You're so great. Like, do your gift and do it in a way that helps to support positive change and impact. And do it in a sense of community. So we're all supporting each other to grow. Yeah. And that's amazing.
Greg talked about the Ikigai, that Japanese
Ikigai,
the Japanese philosophy, and I'm gonna let the goddess explain it.
Oh, that's sweet. You don't want to try it? You don't want to try to explain
it? Go for it.
Okay. Ikigai is 3 different categories. So there's actually, you might have to help me because I
think it's
remember
4
exactly.
Yeah.
Really, there's 4?
It's 4. Is it 3 or 4, Ian?
Pretty sure
I don't know, but you can just Google it.
Pretty sure it's 3.
That's a great idea.
Yo, bing it.
You have my phone, dude. But I think it's what you like to do, what you're good at, what the world needs.
And then what you can make money.
And then make money, yes.
And how
so they intersect in this.
It's a Venn diagram, yeah. So the overlap is like your life's purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, so getting to the core root of that.
Yeah.
You know what? And I've done this before, and I haven't gotten to the core root of it. No, but it's, I think there's a lot of ways that we can go about achieving insight. One of them is through more of the masculine perspective, which is like structure, like exercises.
Yeah, we out here doing
dig
it.
in,
Sure,
and that's great. I love
dirty.
that. Yeah, I've lived that a lot. That's amazing. But then there's another way, which is presence and intuition. And that's more of the feminine way. So stepping one by one, noticing, listening, stepping again. Personally, I spent my whole life doing it the structured way until I got to Guatemala.
Opened up literally the goddess temple.
And I did not do that from a structured perspective at all. It was actually really inspiring. I just listened to Greg talk about how he started Eagle's Nest down there. And he was talking about how he was planning on this being his home. So he built 2 foundations, which is now where the main chill area is in the kitchen. That was going to be his house. And then he never got around to it. And he was about to turn 40, he's 39, and he was like, man, I need to have something that's my passion. I've lived all my passions, I need something.
Yeah.
So he decided he was going to do acro yoga. And he decided when he turned almost 40, he was like, I love acro yoga, I'm going to do it forever. And then he got back to the lake and he was like, man, what would I have to do to get all of the best acro yogis in the world to come play here? And then he built the platform.
Make the dopest platform with the sickest scenic landscape of all time.
Yeah. And so he didn't start out being like Eagle's Nest, we're going to do these events, we're going to have this structure, we're going to do it residencies, we're going to do people. He was like, okay,
we're gonna do tasty
what's my
toast.
pleasure? Right, what's my pleasure? I want to live in Guatemala. Okay, what's my pleasure? I love acro yoga. I want to create that. What's my pleasure? I want to invite people in. I want to create spaces for people to live. I want to,
community.
And every step of the way, he's listening to his pleasure, and what the world needs, and what he's receiving energetically from the world, and he takes action. And he says yes. And the magic of the lake is that it makes it so easy for you to do that. It's crazy. I don't really understand the energy.
So welcoming.
It's
collaborative.
It's the womb, right? It's the mirror. It's the dark mirror for the lake. The lake's one of the deepest places in the world. It goes all the way. Some of the tubes it's an old supervolcano. I don't know if you knew this. Lake Atitlán is an old supervolcano. All the volcanoes around are a part of it. So you can imagine this lake being massive volcano. And there's volcanic tubes still that go all the way into the earth. And this is a caldera, so the water actually stays here. There's no outlets. It's like Crater Lake in Oregon, where I'm from Oregon.
Okay.
Yeah, and all the water stays here. It doesn't go anywhere. So it's literally there's water, earth, there's inner earth energy coming up into this lake from these tubes that they don't even know how deep they go, some of them. So there's this energy of
Sounds very nurturing.
Yeah, well, it is nurturing, and also there's this energy of what's deep inside of us. What is that secret thing? The secret longing, the secret desires that you have. And the lake has a magical way of bringing it up to the surface like a mirror and giving you an opportunity to observe that. Whether that's transmuting something that you need to, or it's an opportunity that you've always wanted that you never thought that you could have. But somehow you speak it, and now the next person who you meet has a little seed that you just have to say yes. And that's how the Goddess Temple started for me. I was just looking for a house. I was here with my partner. We broke up within days of arriving, and then I had to find a new place to live. So I was searching, looking for people to stay in, and this house, I had the last month of this person's lease. I didn't think that it was going to continue. And I had an opportunity, you know, through some conversations with my landlord, I realized that there was a chance for me to take this house on long term. And she only wanted to have a year lease. And so I thought about it and I listened and I said, I was planning to travel. I was planning to travel for like the next 3 years and not go anywhere and not root. But something told me, like, when I was in my home, I have so much joy there. I have so much happiness, and everybody that comes in, like, I was able to be fully me. They felt the joy.
Yeah,
and
we do. We feel the joy.
Yeah, and I knew that if I let the house go, it would be a disservice to my community, and I needed to step into that role. And I wanted to. Like, that was was what my fuck yes was. You know, I was listening, and my body was like, I want this house. I want to stay here. So I said yes, and I didn't start out with the Goddess Temple. I mean, I did call it that, but the whole thing, like all the events and everything that we do now and unfolded, and I'm gonna actually create a nonprofit now for the house, so that's evolutions are happening. DAO,
That's
actually
awesome.
Something similar to that, or
Amazing.
maybe ministry, yeah. So it's really exciting, and all these pieces are just coming about. And I didn't start out just like Greg. You know, it's my home, it's my house, and here we are. Like, the process is growing. I don't know where it's going. I have no idea. And that's amazing. Metamorphosis. Yeah, that was the name of the
Just had an event this weekend.
Yeah, and that's the magic, I think. Magic of the lake, the magic of how to create what our dreams are and how to do it successfully. Because when we really listen, I mean, the Ikigai can point you the way, but what you really know is when you hear, you listen, and you observe what is coming back and what you put in. If the energy is flowing, then that's right. If it's not flowing, it's not right.
Something's stagnant. Something's blocked.
Yeah, and you can tell.
Yeah.
You can tell.
Yeah, and it's inside you. So there's no other clearing that needs to happen than you going internal.
Well, yeah, and listening, right? When you listen, you just need to listen. Sometimes you go internal and do that, but your awareness isn't not out here. It's like you listen, but then you're also like, wait, what's also happening out here?
Yeah.
How does that feel?
Feels good right now, yeah. Feels good right now. Happy to be here, part of Impact. Thanks for jumping on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you. This is awesome. I appreciate it. Thanks for hosting. Thanks
Totally.
for holding this beautiful space and container for us. This mastermind right here. Seriously, this is one of the backbones of this secret backbones, like, you know, behind, but doing all the work. And in front, look at you in the camera. It's great.
Yeah, you seen this necklace?
Yeah,
Are you kidding me?
I love it. It's epic. Have you talked on the podcast? Have you shared? I'm curious. I can interview you.
Yeah, I did 45 minutes at the beginning by myself while I was waiting for people to come in. But if you want to ask a question, I'd love to answer a question for you.
I love that.
Yeah.
Cool.
You got one question. Think very
That's
wisely
not
about
fun.
this.
Only one?
You're such a superstar, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, totally. Thanks for coming on here, making a big contribution.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, making our job super easy, effortless. Ede's literally sleeping right now because Jessica's in here taking over the show.
Well, we have a lot of topics we can cover. So
Yeah.
I'm here to talk. If you want to talk.
Start when you're ready.
I'm actually curious. I'd like to talk with you about polarity, if you're interested. You know, you do men's work.
Polarity.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a hot topic right now in the conscious community. But I'm curious, coming from a men's work perspective.
Yes.
Coming from holding containers for the masculine to grow and elevate, for mental health. I'm curious, like, what impact that has made on your life in relating to the feminine.
Polarity.
Well,
or the work with the masculine and
relating
with the
word out of
femininity.
it's a buzzword
It's a
right now.
symbol.
Yeah, whatever.
Which
But
I don't even know what it means.
but
That's why we bring the
it's
experts.
the details.
That's why we bring the experts.
It's the details.
That's why we bring the experts. Can you ask that again?
Yeah. Okay. So your men's work, how has that impacted your relating to the feminine?
My relating to the feminine.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great question. There's a lot to learn from the feminine when it comes to men's mental health, and some of it is positive, and some of it I look at and I don't feel like it's congruent with how I want to approach my mental health. Like, as an example, one of the big pieces we talk about in the Circle Up book is that men wear masks. And it's basically a tool for protection. You can imagine like a warrior going onto the battlefield, and he wants to protect himself from arrows, he wants to protect himself from swords, he wants to protect himself. So he's going there, and I was saying to you, the Juice WRLD lyrics, the Wishing Well lyrics, This is the part where I tell you I'm fine, but I'm lying. I just don't want you to worry. This is the part where I take my feelings and hide them, 'cause I don't want nobody to hurt me. So we put on these masks that everything's cool, we're supposed to be strong, we want to be able to take care of our shit, we want to be able to take care of our families. And so what we tend to do is struggle alone. And what we tend to do is put on a front that everything's okay, so that nobody asks us questions about it, nobody's worried about it.
Right.
And what I see the difference between the masculine and the feminine is not that it's not challenging and difficult for women to own their feelings and their emotions and their situation, but I find that the dynamic in the feminine is that it tends to be more flowing and open. And so when I see women come together, having a conversation about what's bugging you seems to come more naturally.
Yeah.
And so there's so much to learn about, can I create a space for myself and for other men who are struggling or want some confidential, safe container so that I can actually take my mask off for once and not feel like I need to protect myself and not feel like I need to protect anyone else. I can literally just honor the truth. And so I admire what I see in you and the space you created, the Goddess Temple, and the feminine, for being an example for men that we can actually honor our feelings, we can honor our situation. For us, it's just a matter of being very thoughtful about creating that environment to do that.
Yeah, amazing. So how does that?
Your question?
Sort of. It's interesting.
Sure.
It's still good. I'm curious though. So.
One for Jonathan.
So, how does that impact, or how does that space holding or those containers? How have you noticed that community, that support impacting relationships in your life or in the men's lives that you serve and hold space for?
Yeah, I think the easiest way to describe it is that men bullshit themselves all the time, and people bullshit themselves all the time. One of the easiest ways to notice it is with addiction. And addiction looks different for everybody, and people's definitions will likely be different. But the way that I look at it is something that's in control of me versus me controlling it. So the voice of addiction is saying to Jonathan, one more hit. So whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is. The point is to put their foot in the door so you do it one more time.
Yeah,
and then
just one more though.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, just one more.
That's it. Right? So just one more, and then you go on. And that's the bullshitting yourself. That's the rationalization. That's the consideration. And when I say it's in control, I just mean when I say to myself, I'm not going to smoke any weed today. And then the first thing that happens, 10 minutes into my day, is Ian's like, yo, bro, I wrote this a spliff. Let's get after it. And I'm just like, okay, cool. And I smoke it. It's not that it's bad. That's not what I'm talking about. Like, outside of right and wrong, as Rumi said, somewhere between right and wrong, there's a garden, or an Ian with a bed and a dog, and I'll meet you there. Rough.
They're being super cute. There's a puppy laying underneath his head right
pretty.
now. It's adorable. I agree with that. Yeah.
So it just like what did I say I was gonna do, and I said I wasn't going to, and I did. So in a way, it controlled me versus me controlling it. And so this space, because we bullshit ourselves, the biggest impact that it has the potential to make is when I make decisions about who I want to be and how I want to live my life and how I want to improve myself, it needs to come from a foundation of truth and honesty. Because Ian said, like, as an example, we come to our men's team and we say the purpose is that it's a confidential space, so you can tell us anything. But men still come with their masks.
Yeah, of course.
Because I'm trying to look good, I don't want to be judged for all these reasons.
You have to be a leader, you have to be good enough to hold the space. Yeah.
I want to be perceived a certain way.
Right.
So even then, even the space that was designed intentionally for being confidential, I still show up with my mask sometimes. So the taking off the mask and being honest is like, if you want to bake a pie and you come to the men's circle and you're like, these are all the ingredients that I have in my house to bake this pie with, but you're lying about the ingredients you have, then the men on your men's team are going to listen to you, honoring that you're telling the truth and respecting that you're telling the truth. And then you're going to give them all these faulty ingredients that you don't even have in your pantry. And then when you go back in your life to try to do something about it, it's based off of ingredients you don't even have. It never got to the root of the challenge. It never got to the crux of the issue. It never got to the the doubt that you're experiencing, or the fear that you're experiencing, or the addiction that's gripping you right now. And so these spaces, the biggest impact that I've seen is when men can take their mask off and honor the truth, then they can make real tangible progress in their lives from a foundation of meeting themselves where they're at before they take themselves where they want to go.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's like a disconnect. Here's where I'm at. Here's where where I say I'm at. So I'm starting from here, and then you never make the upward climb. I don't know.
So when you notice that you show up with a mask, what do you do?
That's a good question.
And how do you notice?
Well, it's different now than it was only a couple weeks ago.
Oh, really?
San Marcos has been really useful for learning.
Yeah, it's a good place for that.
Super great for paying attention.
Yeah.
So what I've noticed here is a conversation that came up a couple years ago in the mental health space for me was holding space. So I really like that analogy of holding space. The other thing that I've heard since I've been in San Marcos many times is people saying drop in. So before I explain how I'm using that to help me, can you explain what you mean when you say drop in? Because it's something that you've said to me before. I'm giving someone a hug. They're like, thanks for dropping in with me. And so can you share that before I talk about how I've changed the way that I take my mask off?
Yeah, I love that. Dropping in, that's such a cool phrase. You're totally right. So the way I perceive dropping in is really just about presence. Like, it's so distracting in this world, especially in a place like this. There's like 1,000 things, and I'm easily distracted. I'm like, shiny, you know? But when I drop in, or when somebody drops in with me, it's like, okay, you know, we're like here, or we're here. And all of my presence, I take all that distractions, and I drop into the moment, fully, like into a well. There's nothing but you and me in this moment. This moment can last for 30 seconds. This moment can last for 30 minutes.
6 hours.
6 hours. But I'm fully here with you right now, dropped in. So that's how I perceive that.
Got it. Yeah, it's like we're all living in our own world and have thoughts, and when you drop in with someone and you make that eye contact and you feel seen and you can slow down and be in the present moment. Bob Marley said, as soon as you stop rushing, you won the race. As soon as you stop racing, you won the race. It's like when I drop in with you, there's no more racing because I've arrived and I'm here.
Exactly.
And so the noticing of the mask is a lot easier when I'm present.
Right, of course.
Right. Like even just noticing like tension as an example. That's something that I've been working on in the last couple of days. Is like the more I drop in with myself or with somebody else, like the hugs in San Marcos will change your life.
They will. They changed my life.
I literally came to San Marcos and everyone was hugging each other and loving and
like
connecting
all new level of hugging.
And I was fist bumping people when I came. I was fist bumping people when I came to San Marcos for so many reasons, and you know part of that. Like I'm tense and I'm protecting myself, and I wasn't, I'm coming from like a COVID environment, like not used to people being so comfortable.
How does she know? Just kidding.
6-hour chats at the Goddess Temple. Goddess Temple change your life, baby. San Marcos, Guatemala.
Yep. Keepers of the Temple on Instagram. Keepers of the Temple.
Keepers of the Temple.
Keepers, period, of, period, the,
You're at like 90
temple.
followers? You're going to be at like 90,000.
No, I'm at 200 and some.
Remember when
like
I posted
20.
that first video?
I was at 80.
Brilliant.
That was like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yo, you're on the move.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing I don't want to sidetrack this, but this is the thing about energy. You put it out there and then you're like, wow, people want this, so I guess this is good. This is another sign. Yeah. So you drop into presence.
Yeah.
And you come into awareness. So what is that? Can you explain more of experience? Like, do you have a thought process that comes up, or is there like a trigger for you, or you're like, wow, that wasn't true, I said something untrue, or something like that, where you notice there's a mask, or is it a feeling in your body?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I would say like the point is to get out of your head and into the present. Right, so we do that a couple ways on our men's team. Like as an example, we share. So we have something called mudroom. So you can imagine like the analogy of a house where you would take your shoes off before going into the house. You would take your coats off. You take all the dirty shit so you don't bring it into the house. So at the beginning of our meetings, we will do mudroom so that men can get whatever's on their chest or whatever they're pissed off from the day. And so when I related to taking my mask off and being present, how can I do that? This dropping in concept, this concept of like hugs in San Marcos changing your life is like, well, it's not just a hug for the sake of hugging. It's like a actually being with someone and connecting with someone. And then whether it's one breath or 10 breaths,
Right.
that is actually me coming back to my heart. That's me taking my mask off. Because if I'm going from one hug to the next, or I'm just moving on to the next thing, then I'm wearing a mask because I'm like literally just rushing.
Yeah. That makes sense.
In the present moment, there's no mask.
That's cool.
It disappears.
Yeah. So another project that I have that we've only talked briefly about is it's called Chrysalis, and it's an online community. We also run online festivals, and we have a lot of speakers come on, so we do this kind of thing.
Can you say it again? Chrysalis.
Chrysalis. It's the
Chrysalis.
Chrysalis. So, little backstory. Chrysalis is the cocoon for a butterfly. So cocoons actually moths make cocoons. Butterflies make chrysalises, and it's where the metamorphosis transformation process happens,
Amazing.
where you turn into goo completely, and then you become a
It's
butterfly
like going
and
back
you
in the
emerge.
womb.
Yeah. So we have a festival called Emergence Festival. It's really epic. We've had lots of incredible speakers come on there. Adam Rowe has spoken.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he spoke at our last
Where's
festival.
my scarf?
Yeah, right.
Love Adam.
Yeah, he's fucking epic.
So good. He performed at Speaker Slam Grand Slam in 2019.
Yeah, he did an amazing
in
poem.
Toronto. He's
in
incredible.
Toronto.
Yeah, it's
Cool.
incredible.
And
Yeah,
he
I was
did-
helping the judges by serving them like sushi and coffee and stuff, and just getting to know them. And he was one of the judges, and then he spoke. Yeah, he did an incredible job. Yeah, freestyle poetry.
Yeah, so good. He's got an epic flow for sure. You guys would be flow buddies.
Yeah, or get him on Impact 3 or Impact 5,
Cool,
whichever one he wants
cool.
to
Yeah, hit him
present
up in the
that.
Crate community. Yeah.
Okay.
Or meet us on Mars at one time.
And he's just one name. I like to
Yeah.
name drop him because he's one of the more well-known, I think, in the sphere. But there's, countless amazing people that have been on, like, amazing, top tier, amazing people. Honored to be in their presence, truly. And yeah, they've shared a lot of insights. But one of the things my co-founder, Chelsea Zerna, and I, we created this along with our previous co-founder and one of our good friends, Steve. And we've talked a lot about, okay, we want to hold space, right? We actually have a mastermind called Metamorphosis. It's funny, our last party, I might got us to both called Metamorphosis,
Beautiful.
but because we have a mastermind called Metamorphosis, it made sense. But this mastermind goes through the process of like stepping into your higher self. So from the polarity perspective, inner king and inner queen, what that process looks like, how we relate to ourselves and others, and then integration of the two within ourselves. But we've talked a lot about how we can create more vulnerable spaces, because Chrysalis is a space for transformation, and the most powerful tool for transformation is vulnerability. Massive. Brene Brown talks about that a lot.
Yeah.
I love her work. The power of vulnerability. I've listened to that podcast like so many times, like probably 10. It's changed my life for sure. And everybody's.
It's just one episode, Power of Vulnerability?
The Power
or
of
is
Vulnerability
that's the
is a TED
podcast
Talk.
name?
It's a TED Talk. Yeah, that she gave. And
Great.
Yep, her books are also epic.
Yeah, no, she's
Read a
super
lot of her
popular.
books. Yeah, but that podcast on TED, it's a TED Talk, and
Nice.
it's really, really, really good. Yeah. I
Yo,
think
Chrysalis.
ChrysalisSpace.com.
How do we get involved?
www.chrysalisspace.com. We also have an Instagram called Chrysalis Space. Yeah, and we are on a little hiatus. We're actually going to restart. We're going to do an immersion. So we were doing 3-day festivals through quarantine. I had another company called Oneness Festival that I started at the beginning of quarantine. That was very cool. Yeah, it was great. And that changed. We got to switch around, and then Chelsea Zerna and I met up in the fall in October, and we created Emergence, and that came out. And our first one was in January. Our last one was actually in May, or actually end of April, May. And then we'll have an immersion. So we're not doing 3 days. It's a lot of time for people to be online.
Yeah.
So we're going to do 1
Fair
day
enough.
full immersion, mind, body, spirit, like breath work, yoga, movement, sound, dance,
Everything you want.
everything you want. Like
Everything makes
this,
you
but
feel good.
online, and some of the most amazing
Living
speakers
from that
ever.
pleasure.
Yeah, living from the pleasure, exactly. And also integrating the knowledge and the wisdom, really being that.
Yeah. Letting it be a conduit for the lesson.
Yeah, exactly. You have to integrate it into your body. That's the full process of embodiment. Like it, and then you know it, and then you know it.
Turning knowledge into wisdom.
Yeah, exactly. The alchemization of the human form,
Talking about
turning it into wisdom. Talking about alchemy, yes. I am getting way off track. Okay, so
You're doing fantastic.
it's
Don't
great.
worry, we
So
got
Chelsea,
forever.
so
Thank you so much for
Chelsea,
being
We can
here.
literally
Chelsea
talk
and
to
I.
the
Thank you
end.
so much for being here.
Yeah, so Chelsea and I talked a lot about, okay, how do we create vulnerable space? Because we have amazing people that are vulnerable with us, but it's hard. It's like these strangers are online. By the end of our festivals, like people are talking about the most vulnerable stuff. I cannot tell you how crazy it has gotten. So in the chat, they're just sharing their darkest secrets with each other, and they're all like, "We love you. Everybody's great." It's like a literal family. It's amazing every time, full family. But in the mastermind, we're dropping in for a longer period of time. We're having, instead of a 3-day immersion where it's like all day for 3 days. It's, you know, like 2 hours per week, 4 hours per week, and for over 4 weeks. And then we're, you know, doing that. But we have to set the example. We have to set the example. And this is something that in ESTA, she just came back from ESTA training. She also brought this knowledge back. ESTA. International School of Tantric Arts. It's one of the largest.
That's in my future, baby.
It's coming here, actually.
Looking forward to it.
It's coming here, am I right?
It's way beyond what you could possibly imagine. Yeah.
You'd be surprised at what I could imagine.
Okay, well, I actually have not been, but the purpose of that of ISTA is to really move into like full sovereignty, like full and utter sovereignty through one of the most triggering spaces we can encounter, which is sex. And with that process, like,
I can't handle it. I'm triggered by the sex. I gotta get out of here.
He is leaving.
There's a significant amount of vulnerability in that space because you have to be vulnerable. And what she brought back from that knowledge, from that experience she had, was the wisdom of, in order to create vulnerable space as facilitators, you must be the most vulnerable. You must set the standard for what people are. It's just like Ian sets space as a permission slip.
Yeah.
Holding vulnerable space requires deep vulnerability from us.
Yeah.
So when we witness the masks in ourselves, or when we try to be something that we're not, because it's easy to do that.
But I want you to love me.
Right, exactly. But true love comes from seeing the trueness, like all of the parts. You know, how do you know that I love you if you don't show me the parts of you that you don't love? How do you know?
We have guests.
Hey, what's up,
great,
baby?
excellent. Are you on the podcast? Okay, nice, awesome. Hey, we have some awesome people here.
Yeah, we got Mary Chain. Mary Chain's gonna be performing today. Yeah, we got E. You got our boy Michael's back. Does anyone want to ask the goddess from the Goddess Temple a question?
Yes.
Yeah,
Michael,
excellent,
come sit.
perfect, cool. Here, are you gonna sit?
No, come
you're
sit.
you're the host with us. You guys sit. We're gonna all share this tiny wicker bench.
Sick,
Come here.
Samwise. Hey, what's
So
up,
this
yo?
is
Cuddle Puddle
welcome
here.
to San Marcos. Yeah, this is very natural.
Michael's taught me how to drop in as well.
Oh, that's good.
He's taught
Here
me
you get in
how
there.
to ground
Get
myself,
out
how to live from my heart, how to trust myself, how to reclaim my trust in myself.
There's nothing to reclaim. You never lost it. You just pretended you did.
Thanks, buddy.
You just pretended you did.
Thanks, buddy.
You actually have nothing to do. There's nothing to heal. You just pretended there was for the fun.
Thanks, buddy.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Ask your question.
So, when I stop feeling, how do I return home to feeling?
When you stop feeling, how do you return home to feeling? That's a really good question. Interesting. I have done a lot of work around feeling this last year because I'm coming to San Marcos. It depends on what gets in the way of your feelings, because you're always feeling. There's always something happening here. It's just really your lack of awareness of what you're feeling that's happening. Sometimes maybe you're feeling like just peaceful or content, or you're feeling neutral, you know? But you're always feeling. So the question isn't how do you start feeling again, it's how do you bring your awareness back to that feeling. And I think that actually just is allowance. It's not force. There's no force behind, oh, I need to feel. It's like, no, I need to listen. I need to tune in. What am I feeling? What am I feeling right now? And maybe those feelings aren't the feelings you want to be feeling, and that's why you don't want to feel them, or you don't want to notice them. Because sometimes it's hard. It's hard not to feel the way we want to feel. It's challenging. It's hard. But it's only by recognizing them and allowing those feelings to live and move and exist that they can change, that we can actually move them through our bodies. I've had so many experiences here at the lake of having feelings, noticing them, and not wanting them, but allowing them to move through me. Like going through breakups on the lake is really hard because you're encountering those people everywhere.
Yeah, the
all
street's so
of the
small.
time.
You see the same
You
people.
see the same
every day.
people, your same friends.
Yeah.
So I've had literally experiences where I just needed to cry. And I was in public, and I was allowed to do that. I allowed myself to just move the emotions, and previously before that, I would hold on to it, I would put a mask on. I'd be like, I'm fine, everything's fine, we're good, I'll deal with this later,